Gets to see another part of the format.
Yeah, not surprising. A lot of Teamer in the field.
Yeah, and looks like Jadine will be on the play for the first game. She'll start on Botanical Sanctum for Todd Bomat Courier on the way back.
Yeah, off of a Ramunap Ruins. Usually when you see that as the first land, it means at some point Todd's going to take some damage off of that one.
And Jadine missing on a second land drop, and Todd's going to capitalize here with Earthshaker Kenra. He'll swing both on in. Second card. And it looks like Jadine has been on at least one mulligan here.
Yeah, not a very heavy hand there.
And did draw second land. It's a forest, and that will be Long Tusk Cub. No Attune, though, so actually the 2/2 here, not able to properly block Earthshaker Kenra. You see Jadine slide it over, saying she'd like to block the Bomat Courier. I don't think Todd will give her the option,
right,
as just Kenra comes in.
It is unfortunate with Jadine missing this land drop. You get to the point the Bomat Courier has multiple cards under it. Todd continues to curve out, so Jadine has to clean up this board pretty quickly.
Yeah, and Todd's end's got a lot of great options. He's got an Abrade and a Hazaret waiting. You see, he didn't actually Abrade away the blocker because he wanted to spend his turn on mana efficiency. He made a Rampaging Ferocidon on the third turn.
Being ahead on the battlefield with Rampaging Ferocidon is just a great spot. Just the ability of that card, it taxes Jadine playing creatures. He's going to have to pay a life for all of them. Todd has plenty of life to play with. Doesn't bother him any.
Rogue Refiner draws her a card, gets 2 energy, says go. Now the energy can put Long Tusk Cub up to a 3/3. And Todd, a pair of Abrades. 2 energy won't save there. And this is a huge play. A swing in for 6. Jadine will drop to 7. Behind a Ferocidon, this looks to be lights out.
Ferocidon and a Bomat Courier with 3 cards under it. Todd with multiple Ramunap Ruins. Pretty easy for him to close the game from here.
Not to mention Todd's hand has Hazaret in it. He has so he is doing what the red deck does best. And Rogue Refiner Jadine will drop to 6.
Not one that can see it is Jadine Klomparens.
No, and actually she draws Magma Spray here. That's a live card. Had she not missed that land drop on turn 2, this may have been another story. But that's going to be the advantage of playing something like Ramunap Red, is that when your opponent misses a land drop, it can cost them the game.
Right. Yeah, very punishing when your opponent stumbles.
Yeah, and I do like how Jadine played that. When she cast Rogue Refiner, she had to pick to either draw to Magma Spray or draw to Attune, and did leave up the Spirebluff Canal, was rewarded.
Yeah, wisely tapped that. You know, the Attune wouldn't have done anything there.
Todd, Hazaret, Bomat Courier, empty-handed. He drew the land, swings in, and that'll go game 1 over to the Ramunap Red player. It's Todd Anderson.
Bit unfortunate with the mulligan there, though we'll see if Jadine can make a show of it with her sideboard.
Yeah, a punishing game 1 there. Todd Anderson wins it in short order, a 5-minute game. So players are going to start sideboarding game number 2. And we'll be back shortly then, and we're going to take it after a word from our sponsors. So is there a commercial on the queue? Is there a commercial on the queue? So for Jadine Klomparens and Todd Anderson, they're going to shuffle up for a second game here. Jadine will be back on the play. She was on the play there game 1. Looks like I kept a 1-land hand with Botanical Sanctum. 2 of her 3 colors, had a 2-drop, but missed on that turn.
Right. Long Tusk Cub, Rogue Refiner. Can't ask for much more. You can't mulligan into great spells and more lands.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about Teamer Energy being a mid-range deck is its sideboard it's one of the best sideboarding decks. Now, Jadine has shown up with a lot of weapons for very specific matchups. 4 Vizier of Many Faces, which I assume is the mirror. 4 Negate for control decks. Then we have a few cards for the Ramanap Red matchup.
Yep, we have 2 copies of Chandra's Feet, obviously great, kills red creatures. The Magma Spray and the Abrade, expect to see those ones here. Good argument for Essence Scatter as well, specifically for Hazaret the Fervent.
Yeah, I was going to ask, it is a 2-mana card, and against a deck with such a low curve, it's hard to say no to that.
Right, and particularly on the play, it's pretty free to have it in your deck.
Now for Todd Anderson, we see him taking a mulligan to 6 right now on the draw. The Ramanap Red deck, of course, being only a monocolored deck, its sideboard options are a little limited. And what we see here is that he has the ability to kind of go big out of the sideboard, get off some of the lower end creatures. He's got Glorybringers, Chandra's Defeats, I assume we don't see those here, Pia Nalar, Aethersphere Harvester, and then a Scavenger Rounds and an Abrade. Now against the Teamer Energy deck, where do you like him to be?
I certainly like the Abrade. That one for sure. There's differences in philosophy over whether you're supposed to go big against Teamer. I think once you start playing Rampaging Ferocidon, you're kind of priced into it.
Yeah.
The 24 land bills. So I expect to see the Chandras and the Glorybringers. I actually like Pia Nalar getting them out in this matchup. Unless they specifically have Whirler Virtuoso, that flying attacker is really nice.
Yeah, so you don't want to go too big. Then you're playing the Teamer's game.
Yes.
So Todd keeps on 6, scries to the bottom. Jadine starts on Basic Mountain. Todd answers with Soul Scar Mage. And that'll immediately eat a Magma Spray from Jadine.
Is that some kind of miscut mountain? Is that Ice Age?
That is Ice Age. Now, you might think, hey, that's a snow-covered mountain. It's not, because Ice Age, they covered...
Everything was covered in snow, but
well,
some
no,
of them made a point of it.
Right. Some of them.
Yeah. Some more deliberately than
yeah.
others.
No, that one, I mean, if you look at it, there's a lot of snow on it. So Todd will play the removal spell game. He shoots down Long Tusk Cub with a shock. Though what I mentioned before, if this game progresses, it really feels that it would favor Jadine. She'll play Whirler Virtuoso.
Yeah, Whirler Virtuoso better than Rogue Refiner in this matchup, which is pretty rare.
And even in this situation, if we're just trading creatures with removal spells, Jadine, I imagine, would have been thrilled with a Rogue Refiner too. Now Todd does answer the 3-drop of his own. It's Rampaging Ferocidon. Jadine draws Chandra, and I want to see if she has the 4th land for it.
Not looking like it, but I do believe she has at least one more removal spell in hand. So if she wants to get aggressive, she can go for this Ferocidon.
Sure.
And likely you'll have to deal with it eventually anyway.
Chandra's Defeat takes care of the dinosaur. The Refiner swings in for 2, or rather the Virtuoso. And now Long Tusk Cub will join. And I think this goes back when Todd made Rampaging Ferocidon. Jadine didn't make a Thopter in response, and I think this is why.
Right. Had something to do with the energy. Also had a removal spell lined up, so she didn't have to get aggressive with the Virtuoso.
Yeah, now Todd makes a second Ferocidon. Can Jadine hit the land for her Chandra? She can. Hits Basic Island. And this could be very big if that blocker is removed.
That would be my first bingo square.
Chandra?
Chandra kills a creature. So obviously I'm into that play. It's very
it just seems like the great play,
very
too.
Very tempo positive as well.
And that's going to be the play. Chandra. No, she's going to plus the Chandra and to braid the Ferocidon.
Okay, this is a great position, clearly. It's pretty rude, but it's acceptable.
As we played it, I was like, man, you're going to remove the creature with it. But no. And gets 2 extra energy off the Long Tusk Cub connecting.
And from 19, obviously this far ahead, Chandra on 5. This is going to be a very difficult game for Jadine to lose.
2 more creatures for Todd. It's Kari Zev and Soul Scar Mage. He's got 1 card left in his hand, so he passes back to Jadine. You still might get your Chandra here.
Yeah, Kari Zev is a pretty juicy target for the -3 right now.
No need. You can just attack with Long Tusk Cub, right? It's fine. It's fine.
Unclear what Jadine has drawn for the turn, though she doesn't really need too many more resources from this point.
If you -2 the Chandra, Jadine does risk losing it to Ramanap Ruins.
But if that's all Todd does with his turn, that's a pretty favorable exchange. Yeah. She already has the Cub. If she's able to connect with the Cub, start growing that, she'll really start to run away with this game.
Yeah, and Jadine makes the same calculation. Carrie Zev is shot by Chandra Torch of Defiance.
All right, checking the box.
Swinging here then with a 2-2 and a 3-3. Now that cub not actually a, well, it's a 2-2 right now. It could get a lot bigger. Jadine has 5 energy in reserve.
At least 2 of it is expendable because Whirler Virtuoso deals in multiples of 3.
Right, and that's what she'll do. So she'll connect for 5 damage, get 2 more energy to go back up to 5. Todd drops to 9 life points.
This game is just not going to go on long enough to fully stock up that Virtuoso and make a bunch of Thopters.
No, and twice in a row we've really seen here that these games, one way or another, by about turn 5, they take a very decisive turns. And Todd does play land 5, sacrifices away Sunscorched Desert to remove Chandra. Soul Scar Mage attacks for 1.
So yeah, Todd managed the battlefield a little bit there. But
Yeah.
he's using his full turn for that. Jadine is just going to continue to be able to press her advantage.
Right, and now we're getting very close to lethal. Jadine has 6 power, potentially 7 on this attack. So she'll swing in. See if she wants to make any more pumps. May just deal the 6.
Wouldn't mind having another Thopter from here, so going up to 4 energy and having that in reserve makes sense.
Jadine comes to the same conclusion. Todd Anderson drops down to 3. Jadine makes a 5th land and passes. Todd, 2 mountains in hand. That won't do it. So Jadine evens up the match at 1 game apiece.
A lot of back and forth with removal spells here, and when Teamer presents a good mix of removal spells and threats, it's very hard for the red deck to actually win those games.
Yeah, I mean, as you think about it like a Jund deck, right? Okay, when you have your Terminates and your Tarmogoyfs as your plays, it's very good against creature decks.
If you want to continue that Jund analogy, at that time there were just red-black Blightning decks, and then you got to cast Bloodbraid Elf against them, and you just won every game.
Yeah, you just you remove their thing, play a 2 for 1.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
This deck's just better at the kill spell game.
Right, players are going to go back to their sideboards here. And actually, it looks like some re-sideboarding on the draw for each player. So that's going to be interesting. Now, do you have thoughts as to what they might be switching? Both players seem like, it looked like for Jadine a 2-card swap, play draw.
She might have had this Supreme Will in on the play. It's easier to leverage your mana then. You can catch Hazoret. That makes some sense to me. Not too much else that you would really mess with. You can make an argument for the Essence Scatter, but that one being 2 is more reasonable. For Todd, he has options to have a more radical shift. Maybe he sees that Jadine's on Chandra's defeat and says, all right, I don't necessarily want to be on these giant targets for Chandra's defeat if those were in his deck.
Yeah, and Todd had seen that.
Aethersphere Harvester seems fine now that you know that there's Chandra's defeat available for Jadine.
Yeah, it's a bigger threat that can't. You don't want to have a 3-mana threat be answered by 1 mana removal spell, and that one dodges.
And you force her to specifically have a Braid if she wants to actually kill it.
Yeah, that makes. All right, well, the game 3 will put Todd on the play. We'll be back with that game in just a minute.
Go.
All right, so game number 3 here going to be Todd Anderson and Jadine Klomparens. We joined them on turn number 2. So for Todd Anderson, it looks like starting on Soulscar Mage and now making a Bomat Courier. See, not a card under it yet. So it looks like they were played in the less than optimal order. But a card under Bomat Courier for Todd and no second land as he'll pass back to Jadine.
Yeah, kind of suggests that instead of second land, he drew the Bomat Courier.
Yeah. I have to say I agree. For Jadine's Servant of the Conduit. Now, I would assume on Jadine's side, if Todd's kept a 1-land hand, that there's a Shocker or Magma Spray about to get this creature off the board.
Yeah. And for that reason, it's possible that she sandbagged a Long Tusk Cub.
Sure, just rather this ate it.
You can get that one out of just any removal spell range. Getting some energy in the reserve first.
And there is the shock. Todd did draw Ramanap Ruins that turn. So he attacks, looks like for 3, thanks to Prowess. And you're looking at what he's doing with his spells. He could have cast Lightning Strike there, which would have been more mana efficient. But he's counting damage and decided to actually just play the smallest spell he could that dealt with the threat.
Yeah, Strike goes upstairs. Also, Strike just solves more creatures.
Yeah.
For example, he might go after this Whirler Virtuoso with it.
Yeah, now I do have to say with Virtuoso, this is really, I think, the card that Todd didn't want to see Jadine cast this turn. The 2/3 is a great blocker, and Jadine goes up to 6 energy thanks to Aether Hub and Servant of the Conduit. This is a really strong play on her side.
Yeah, that Hub energy, this is one of those games where it's pretty free with Spirebluff Canal plus Botanical Sanctum. Not hard to have access to her colors.
And you look at these incidental energy cards in Teamer. I mean, I could sing the praise of Attune with Aether all day. Just getting energy in this deck feels like drawing a card in a lot of ways. Like Aether Hub is a land that draws you maybe half a card. So Lightning Strike will shoot the Whirler Virtuoso. In response, Jadine makes 1 Thopter, but now contemplates whether she wants to make a second.
The first Thopter makes a lot of sense. It holds off the Bomat Courier.
Right.
Depending on what she has for more energy payoffs, I like hanging back on the second.
Yeah, even if she made 2 Thopters this turn, she still wouldn't have a block on Soulscar Mage. It did get pumped due to Prowess.
Right.
And so she makes 1 Thopter, takes 2 on an attack, goes to 13, and now we're back to Jadine's turn 4.
Looks like she picked up another Virtuoso.
That's a great draw.
Things are just fine.
And it's great when you have Virtuoso and it's not even your best play. Here's Servant of the Conduit and Long Tusk Cub for Jadine. She'll pass, and this makes a lot of sense why she held back that extra energy.
Yeah, fully 5 available. That's 2.5 activations of the Cub.
Yeah, so now it's a 4/4. So if there's another Lightning Strike in Todd's hand, he doesn't have a 4-point removal spell. They have a Braids, Magma Sprays, Shocks, Lightning Strikes, so 2s and 3s.
Right. Yeah, so there was some argument to just get the Cub up to 4 right away while Todd was tapped low there. But one thing about it, the specific battlefield is that Soulscar Mage will cause Todd's cards to put -1/-1 counters on the Cub. So it doesn't especially matter if you outsize it. You just wait for a window where you can actively leverage the body. So
Todd makes another Soulscar Mage, but still stuck on 2 lands as he passes back to Jadine. The double Prowess creature is threatening, but Todd's just light on resource right now. And Jadine will capitalize. Another Whirler Virtuoso puts her up to 8 energy.
Well, you have to actually be casting spells for your Prowess threats to matter, and also there's just so many blockers now. And now Jadine swings in with a Thopter and a Cub. I like how she's placing this pressure. With 8 energy, the Cub's pretty unstoppable, but Todd has to block it. If it connects, she'll keep getting 2 energy. With a Virtuoso, that's more Thopters. He just can't do that. Right. And any blocks available are going to be a chump block because of the way Long Tusk Cub works. Right. So this is it's just a great way where she's using this temporary board advantage to just compound her advantage and close the game. Pumps once. It looks like... Well, we'll see what the blocks were here. Cub's becoming a 3/3. And perhaps more. Looks like 1 more will send it up to a 4/4. And it looks like Todd did not block, so he's taking 5 damage, and then Jadine gets 2 energy back on the hit. I like no blocks there, again, just because none of his blocks are profitable. He already has this problem where he can't connect with his creatures, so throwing one away, that just makes that problem worse. Scavenger Grounds the draw for Todd. He does hit land 3, which lets him make Pia Nalar, the 2/2 legend, bringing another Thopter with it. Or what if Jadine wasn't ready with the Essence Scatter? Right, bringing another card out of Jadine's hand and cleanly answered. Yeah. Now, Todd does have a second Pia Nalar, but you see as Jadine makes another Thopter on end step, anything she can do to make just trade and make the game go another turn here is great.
So a 4/4 cup, 2 Thopters. Looks like we have another attack getting lined up for Jadine. She'll swing for 6. And actually got way more aggressive. Todd is tapped out, so those prowess creatures, they're not a threat. Jadine's going to have Servant to the Conduit added to the mix too.
Yeah, I like the attack with Servant with no looming prowess. Can't make those Scar Mages 2/3s on the blocks.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see something like, you know, Lightning Strike down the Virtuoso, block the Servant. That would be a rough play. And Todd's going to have to put something in front of the Cub. Actually, looks like he double blocked the Servant to the Conduit. So Soulscar Mage traded with Servant. He actually took the hit off Long Tusk Cub and the Thopters. Jadine pumped, so Todd took 7 and dropped down to 8 that turn.
Okay, just trying to find a window where he can get in some chip shots here, though he really is out of life to play with.
Yeah, he's behind in the race. This Long Tusk Cub is the abyss. With the damage Jadine has here, it's a 5/5. It could pump to a 7/7. It's too easy for her to get 2 more energy. He's going to have to block it every turn. Pia Nalar, the play for Todd. He'll try for it again. Brings a Thopter. Some awkward things. Todd drew Rampaging Ferocity on that turn. With him behind, I don't really think he can cast the card anymore.
It gets a lot worse when you're behind. He's also kind of forced to sequence Pia before he plays Ferocidon.
Yeah, those you take 2. So Jadine will make a 3rd Thopter. She drops to 1 energy. And swing is going to be, looks like everything. And she eventually decides to leave the Virtuoso back. As a 2/3, it's not that much damage. It's a great blocker. But this swing with the Thopters represents 8. So, okay, Todd has to make a play.
Yeah, got to put something in front of the Cub. That Thopter that Todd had probably just has to trade with one of Jadine's Thopters at some point.
Yeah, you're kind of this every point matters situation. If you aren't going to block the Thopter here, trade them, you're committing to taking 3 each turn, and at 8, you probably can't do that. So Thopters will trade. 2 of them are going to come in unblocked. And now something, looks like Bomat Courier is going to be in front of Long Tusk Cub. So those 2 cards under the Courier, those are never going to be converted. They head off to exile. And looks like Long Tusk Cub's the follow-up for Jadine, though she's out of energy right now. If Todd only went to 6 on that attack, he's still very far behind, but Jadine appears to be out of the threats on the board are the threats she has.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's another land in her hand. This is plenty that she has on the battlefield right now.
Yeah, that Long Tusk Cub is going to take one of Todd's creatures every turn. Not to mention the 2 Thopters are a 3-turn clock just by themselves. And Todd's hand doing him no favors. Ferocidon, On-Crop Crasher, Hazaret.
Ugh. All great cards, but we're just kind of past the point for all of them.
Yeah, I mean, the Hazarets aren't castable, especially not in a 4-card hand, not off 3 mana. The 3-drops are both great cards when you're ahead and horrible when you're behind. I mean, you see Todd eventually makes Ferocidon, but he can't be happy about that play.
No. Yeah, this is one of those battlefields where even if he's casting Crasher, you can't meaningfully exert it, really.
No, you need it. He needs to block. And Jadine's going to abrade away the Ferocidon. Swing with everything. It's quite lead. So Todd's going to 4 for sure. Yeah. Takes 2 off the Thopters and 2 off the Virtuoso. Todd drops to 2. The Thopters, they're going to kill him. There's the handshake, and that's going to be the match. Jadine Klomparens is your winner. We're taking both sideboard games. With Team Energy, she improves to 3-0.
Yeah, you know, it looked rough when she missed that second land drop in game 1, but sideboard's really good here. World of Virtuoso is just one of the harder cards for Ramunap Red to beat in the format.
And I think we saw some of the gamble when you look at like a deck like Ramunap Red. Todd won game 1 with such a powerful start. It means that in game 3, when he has a 1-land hand, he actually has to keep, which he did in that situation, because when he hits the second land, he probably would have run the game out of the building. And he misses on 1 turn. And really, I think he hit on the 2nd turn. And maybe he was live to win if it wasn't for Whirler Virtuoso.